4? Yes?
Since we're talking about trillions missing.
Yes.
Oh, okay. You're talking about trillions missing. It made me think about one of the top headline news stories right now, which is that President Obama has agreed to $12 billion in cuts in Social Security.
Oh, it's horrible.
It's horrible, but at the same time, I don't hear anybody saying that this $12 billion is peanuts.
It is.
Compared to the bailout, compared to the military budget, compared to the trillions that you're saying are missing, it's peanuts.
You're absolutely right.
It's a big story.
It's peanuts.
Yeah, and we have a couple of legislators around here in Sonoma, where you're going tomorrow, and in San Francisco, Nancy Pelosi, who are refusing to sign the letter saying that they will vote against any cuts to Social Security and Medicare. I'm sorry for the long question, but I'm trying to get there. Okay. Someone from the Peace and Justice Center in Sonoma County told me that she was so depressed because they'd gone and tried to get their congressperson there. Sign on to this letter. It's the Florida congressman. I can't remember. It's the Florida congressman is the one leading it. Do you know? Grayson.
Florida?
Grayson and somebody else have a letter saying we will not, they're asking other congresspeople to sign saying we will not vote for any cuts in Social Security or Medicare. She said that she didn't think they were getting anywhere with the Sonoma congressman because people were just, because he's a Democrat, and they're just unwilling to say, we're not going to vote for you. If you don't sign on to this letter, we're not going to vote for you. So you've been a member of the Green Party since 2008. Do you have any new ideas about how to get through to people that if you don't say we won't vote for you, you really never have any power?
Well, that's the fact of the matter is that you don't have power if you don't exercise it. And you have to figure out ways in which you can exercise the power that you do have and to make your voice heard. So if there's an elected official who thinks that, particularly on the federal level, who thinks that cutting Social Security and Medicare is all right, if that's the kind of president you want, or if that's the kind of congressperson you want, at the same time that the war machine goes on, I just happened to be standing in line today at the airport. I came from Los Angeles. Y'all have to help me. So I'm at the airport, and CBS News stops and starts asking me questions. Scott Pelley, CBS News. Now, that's amazing. But you know what they wanted to talk about? Was the long lines at the airport. Now, all of these cuts, people, the teachers, the hospitals, and CBS News sends a crew out to talk about long lines at the airport. So I busted them and I said, well, you want to talk about the lines at the airport, that's small potatoes compared to shutting down hospitals and closing schools and firing teachers. And all the while the war machine goes fully funded. So my prescription is to stop spending money on war and finance the needs of the people. So then I asked the guy, okay, well, is that going to appear on the news? I don't think it will. Yes.
Yes. We're doing a fight against the XL pipeline with Iowa Illinois indigenous community, and I wanted to congratulate you on your stance against getting the 9/11 exposed. We do a 9/11 is an inside job for
people of the U.S. out of their cars is a step in the right direction. So I would definitely be willing to support that. The only thing is I live in Georgia. It's not California, right? You have bike lanes in California. In Georgia, it is a life and death situation to be on the road riding your bicycle. So I do something, you know, I do something that's illegal, right? I ride on the sidewalk. But remember, it's Georgia. We don't have sidewalks. It's the hardest thing to ride your bicycle in Georgia. So yes, I would definitely support it, but I'll be taking my life into my hands. Next. Did we do 5 yet? Who was number 5? Oh, okay, next 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hey, wait, weren't you number 5?
That's okay, I'll be the next 5.
Oh, okay. Y'all split the next 5. Okay, 1, yes.
We mentioned President Obama. You ran for president in 2008. I voted for you. I was talking to one of my...
Thank you.
You're welcome. I was talking to one of my black friends, and I was telling her, why don't you vote for Cynthia McKinney? But she was all jazzed about Obama. She talked to her mother about it on the phone and everything. So I'd like to hear your perspective about what is it like to have a black president who has enormous support from the black community, but who's not, for us, progressive. And how does that feel? How do you talk about it?
Well, you know, that's a very serious question. Because on the one hand, there are people who literally cry. Like my father's generation, who thought they would never see a black man or woman in the White House. It's a huge accomplishment, just being there. But you see, it was my father's generation that taught me that it's insufficient to just be there. You got to do something when you get there. So that's almost like a duality in that generation. So now, you see, there's no position that I would like to have more than that of United States Senator. The idea of having someone with my values, our values in the U.S. Senate, with all of the prerogatives of a senator, is something that I could get jazzed about. That turns me on. I know, and I never get turned on. So, when candidate Barack Obama, candidate for U.S. Senate, all of a sudden had a Republican opponent whose sealed divorce papers became unsealed, and it was discovered that he was swinging with his wife, or on his wife, or I don't know how you swing like that, but he was doing something all right, you know, and the wife didn't like it, and it led to the divorce. And therefore, the Republicans had no candidate to run against Barack Obama, candidate for Senate. So they went and they found Alan, what's his name? Keyes. Alan Keyes. And so Alan Keyes ran. But in essence, that was a walk in the park. That was a waltz into the esteemed body of the United States Senate. Now, how often does that happen? Do you think I could go to the U.S. Senate unopposed? With the power are familiar with the FBI documents that talked about, hey, oh my goodness, do you live out here? Oh my goodness, this is Laney Thomas, Lord have mercy. She's from Georgia. The FBI number 2 in command wrote a memo where he talked about selecting a black leader to lead black people before black people selected their own leader. That document is available for all of you to read. That was written in the 1960s. And then there was a CIA document, which is what the first time it has appeared is, I put it in Ain't Nothing Like Freedom. And that document, dated May 11th, 1965, says somewhere at the top there is a Negro who is clean, who can step into the vacuum of chaos once Dr. King is either exposed or assassinated. And that's a CIA document. So basically, May 11th, 1965. It's in the book. It's in the book. But the point is that if you are aware of these documents that reflect the dominant thinking at the time, then you can follow the leadership trajectory. And when someone says he's a clean person, remember when I think it was Joe Biden, it was somebody who said he was clean, and Reverend Al Sharpton said, you know, that's insult, he takes showers like everybody else. But that wasn't the point. The phraseology, clean Negro, had been used in U.S. government intelligence documents. But you have to have read it in order to recognize it when you see it. So, long story short, I'm not surprised at anything, any policy that happens now with Barack Obama as the president, because it is what it was meant to be.
Yes. Yes.
Now, how do you as a white person navigate that? How do I as a black person navigate that? That was the difficulty. I remember Cindy Sheehan said she was sick and tired of being called a racist because she opposed President Obama's policies. And that's why I believe Glenn Ford of Black Agenda Report wrote the paper and characterized our president not as the lesser of two evils, but the more effective evil. Because if I can't criticize on the basis of policy, which is the only reason I participate in politics to start with, is because of policy. I want policy changes. And if I can't discuss that, then the opportunity for dissent has been shut down. If you as a white person are going to be called a racist because you dare to dissent from retrograde policies, then dissent has been shut down. And that is effective. And it has been effective. And I agree with Glenn Ford's characterization. gotten us in the predicament now where U.S. citizens can be killed by a U.S. president, by executive order, on U.S. soil. Have you ever heard anything? Not in 700 years. Yes, I'm studying targeted assassination, and Ryan Patrick Alford wrote a legal brief where it was just the most amazing article to read, how not in 700 years since the beginning of common law has a single individual been able to sign a document and order the execution of somebody. That's where we are. Or that this president can suggest cutting Social Security and Medicare. I mean, it's where we are. Next question, or else I'll never get to the other question.
Well, it's a local issue. In Oakland, we have a serious issue with crime. We have a very serious issue with crime. Crime is rising, and our schools, unfortunately, aren't able to properly educate our students. So, what solutions do you have to offer for us here?
My very flip, easy answer would be homeschooling. So I can't give that answer, but that's my answer.
Homeschooling might be pretty cool, and it might be a good option, but most parents can't afford to do that. So you can kind of expand in terms of just. I mean, seriously, I'd like to know, because this is a serious issue.
It is a serious issue.
Very serious issue.
And
her response is serious.
No, I agree.
yeah.
But you could just kind of air
The young people whom I have met who are homeschooled actually have been so far advanced from their public school and private school, for that matter, peers, that that's a serious response that ought to be considered a serious solution. Then there are the alternative schools, and these schools are steeped in culture, and so they're appropriately culturally based, and I would recommend those schools. You see, for probably ever since 1954, some people have figured out how to make the school system a profit center. And so now your child is not a potentially brilliant young mind to be nurtured, but a place in which money can be made. And that has become exacerbated now with the charter schools started out being neighborhood schools, or at least that's the way they started in Georgia. They started out as neighborhood schools. And now they've, the neighborhood has been usurped by the corporation. So now they're corporation schools. I don't know how to starve the beast, but I would say that we need to starve the beast until we can figure out a way to take the beast back over.
What about the issue of crime?
Crime?
Yes, how would you suggest in terms of resolving that issue?
Crime
is really huge in Oakland.
in schools?
No, I'm sorry. In Oakland, we have a huge crime issue.
Well, you probably have crime everywhere. It's how you treat the people in the first place that produces or fails to produce crime. I remember under President Clinton when economic times were considerably better than they are now. You had a decrease in crime. And so you know, I understand there's something here called the gang, anti-gang, where individuals are barred from participating in, from even being present in areas. That we had that in, when I first got elected in Georgia, there was these rural towns that didn't want young blacks around in the downtown area, so they just barred all the young black kids from going to downtown. Well, we had to march against that, and we did march against that, and we brought in the Department of Justice. I mean, there's, you know, things that you have to do, but, you know, crime, I believe a large measure of crime. What kind of crime are you talking about? Because I see a whole bunch of crime at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Yeah, well, I'm against homicide. I'm against homicide by drone in Somalia. I'm against homicide. I'm against war. You know, so I think we need to have more of a holistic kind of thing, and the police are not going to solve that problem. I'm going to be honest with you. The police are not. There are good policemen out there. My dad used to be a policeman, but you know, the bottom line is that the police are a part of the problem, and our elected officials are supposed to be a part of the solution.